Hello and welcome to HanaMade. I made this little video to show you how I created this little tiny junk journal. It's about 3 inches by maybe 3.5, and I'm in love with it. However, the way I created it is that I confiscated this mini binder for my daughter who was using it for her American Dolls. And then I chopped an old journal into pieces. And this is just basically the little pages I inserted in before I started playing with them. So this is one of the first junk journals I made a few years ago, and I am just not in love with it. However, the pages are nice and thick paper. Yes, you may recognize file folders. And I cut it down to a size. So I'm working with two different sizes, and it was pretty easy to chop it to a size that I want. I marked it on my cutter to make it easier and less confusing. I do have to admit one thing that was kind of confusing to me was the direction of some of the pattern on the pages itself. However, on the end of the day, it does not matter. Yeah, so I was trying to explain you. I was actually explaining it to myself. But basically, that is what I'm doing. I'm recycling an old journal pages into a new one. I have to admit, it was one of those projects that it's really nice when things are pre-made. However, I usually pride myself into everything being made from scratch. Do you see that? Pretty good fit, right? I do have a hole puncher that will I can adjust to size for this binder. However, I find it so easy to just punch it with one hole puncher. That's very easy. The one thing I would like to share is that good quality thick pages are fantastic, especially if you are using ring binder or any type of binder, because they may rip out if it's too thin, right? Plus, if you have thin base of a page and you're attaching more paper to it, it may be kind of heavy. So I just do want to recommend that thicker the page, the better. So I'm just having fun chopping it. This is my old-fashioned cutter that is quite precise, even though it's not as sharp as it used to be, but it works well. I sometimes cut a bunch of pages at once. This time I'm just cutting them one by one to make sure that it is a good fit. By the way, this is just a base for the page, right? So I kind of collaged the base, and I'm going to add more. I feel like I evolved a lot. I improved many techniques that I am using, and I do think that my journals are uh, advanced, more creative. They have more details. I think they are more charming. I think they're amazing. I'm interested to see what I will say in a few years from now. But then, I just wanted to basically share the message that I want to share is that don't throw out anything that you made. I think most of us are creative but are not really satisfied with what we are making. However, if you kind of look at it with some time passing by, you may appreciate more what you created. So if you ever make something you are not totally satisfied, put it aside and then come back. And it could be days, it could be years. So anyhow, happy recycling day. As you can see, it already kind of looks cute. However, so far it's just kind of artsy um, journal, right? Junk journal. I would love to add more touch, and I will show you what I will do. Plus, most of these pages were just one-sided. I prefer if my journals are double-sided. But that's the basic idea. Those binders are fantastic. So I am back to it, and I'm going to improve it and add more touches. This is all the pages that I cut, and I already worked on them a little bit. As you can see, I like just touching the paper. I like playing with it. I put on cool show or just music. Sometimes I find myself that I actually don't listen to anything at all, and I just kind of am in my own mood and I am creative, which is pretty cool. Um, so I am right now inking, meaning that I am aging the edges of the pages. I love the look. I love how things pop out. There's something about the contrast and of course kind of aging process add certain charm. I'm just using a plain ink pad that I had from before. I can easily I can either use small ink pad and just use it on the edges, or I can use this big one, which is much more time efficient, honestly. The one thing I would like to mention when we talk about ink, there are many different types of inks. Um, I do like using permanent ink, which is called StazOn. It's not this one, by the way, but if I use it, it kind of gives me more opportunities to use water-based sealant on the end if I choose to. I hope you can see how much this little detail adds. I do call it detail because it's really just a simple messing up the edges of the pages, but I do really think it adds so much. I'm just playing with different colors to see how it will look like, and I'm sort of picking the color from the page itself. So this one had a little blue pattern, so I'm adding blue edge. I'm always careful to hold it in the middle with two fingers on the opposite side because this ink doesn't dry all that fast and I don't want to smudge it, right? So professionally age smudging is fine, but not smudging that's accidental. So I did share more videos in the past how I achieved some of these looks, so you can see different materials being glued down, and it's kind of basically a collage, right? The way to achieve it is that you are basically playing with different patterns of paper and you lay it on the top of each other. You either lay it down first and then you tape it down or glue it down, or you can just start gluing right away and see if you like it or not. Um, I use almost any type of material I can get my hands on, and I kind of am not too picky, but I'm having fun combining them together. The one thing to remember is that it is not acid free. The materials I'm using, the paper I'm using, is not acid free. So at some point, it will get aged, meaning it will change color, it will become a little bit yellowish. You can probably assume that I really don't care. It is junk journal. It is supposed to be a little bit junky looking, and I have no idea where I'm going to be in 10, 15, 20 years when they become yellow, and who cares? That's not the point. The point to me is the creative outlet this gives me and the fun I am having with it, and hopefully I am teaching others to be more creative and recycle. I think those are my two main messages, and I do hope that this video may encourage some of you to be more creative. The one I think important aspect of my junk journals now is to always add some focal point to each page. The way I like to do it is to add little clever saying or a quote. I love quotes. I think there are many incredibly wise people who said smart observations, smart things, and their quotes can be applied to many of our actions. I especially like optimistic and encouraging quotes or words. I do think that just looking at them, reading them, makes the connection for us to be more positive and optimistic. I really truly believe that you can even intentionally make yourself positive and happy. And if you are exposed to those words, it makes it kind of even more profound and more serious. And I also think that these little journals, or any type of journals, any type of cards, make other people happy. I almost feel that to really give somebody something that's handmade and something you were thinking about when you were creating it, you were thinking about that person, is even more special. So I maybe suggest that if you are making a junk journal for a specific person, you actually think of them a little bit and think about what they like, right? you may include those images and quotes that would relate to them in the junk journal. The other thing about junk journals is that basically each of those pages is truly art on its own, and they can also be used as cards. So this is the final product when I think I'm done. However, it's hard to say. No, I'm not going to file my nails, but I ruin my nails during gardening and I cannot flip the pages. So I'm just showing you how it looks like when it's all put together. And I think it's fair to say that it's pretty cool, nice looking, and you can see the labor in it and the love. And I do think it does spread a pretty cool message. Recycle, upcycle, reuse, have fun, be creative, and be positive. Thank you for watching Handmade. If you enjoyed this, you can find other videos on my channel.